guys, welcome back to another video. So this video we're gonna do a Q&A. I haven't done a Q&A in such a long time, but this Q&A has to do with my postpartum and how am I handling 6 kids and how's it going. So let's get started. So I've been asking people on TikTok of questions about my postpartum. So I know my Instagram people haven't sent me any questions, which I'm kind of bummed. And because I got a lot of followers on there too. So good thing my TikTok people got me some good questions to answer for you guys. So number 1 question, how did you manage to be so active after your C-section? Oh boy, that's a good question because every C-section was different. I basically just feel it out of what I can actually do. I just play it by ear. I take baby steps. If I can walk, if I could get in the car or whatever it might be, going up and down the stairs right over here. So it all just depends on how I feel, if I'm able to do that activity. But overall, I just have that type of energy, and so I just don't know how I'm just so active. I guess it's just because like my body is so used to it, and I'm just on the go constantly, and I just don't want to sit down. I don't know. That's a very good question though. That's the only thing I can say to that. How long does it take for the cut to heal up? Okay, so technically, the outside for me, because this is my personal experience, for me, it usually takes about a week on the outside. Now, the inside, they cut 6 layers, so that takes a little bit more time. So I would say for me, everybody's different on how they heal and the healing process and how they recover. But for me, it just takes like a week or a week and a half on the outside, and it looks perfectly good. Some people, they experience infections and all that stuff. But for me, with all my C-sections, I'm so blessed and thankful that I haven't had any infections with the incision line. Everything has healed up on the outside perfectly, even in the inside obviously, but the inside takes a little bit longer because you got several layers and all the stitchings and stuff like that. So yeah. Next question. Did you get an epidural? Did it last or wear off? So this question always comes up in my lives a lot, in my TikTok live. I personally cannot get an epidural. When you have C-sections, normally when you have C-sections, you have to have an epidural because they'll numb you from the waist down and you're awake the whole entire time. But for me, I cannot have an epidural because I was born with spina bifida, and spina bifida is basically you have a tumor on your lumbar, on your lower back. There's several spina bifidas. For my case, this tumor forms on the inside of the spine instead of the outside, and that's more of the non-dangerous type. That's what I call it. The other types is where the tumor actually forms on the outside of the spine and the spine sticks out of the skin. And when you have that type, you have to have major surgery right away. But for me, basically the tumor's on the inside and it creates a small dimple on your lower back. But I didn't get diagnosed until I was 10. So I had a little bit of health complications growing up before I even got diagnosed. So that's the reason why. So when I have my C-sections, I have to be put asleep. like completely asleep. So that means I cannot hear the baby's first cry. I cannot hold. Only my husband can hear the first cry and hold the baby for the first time when he or she comes out. So it sucks, but I'd rather be asleep because I do not want to feel like the tugs and the pulls and all the stuff, commotions going on, especially this past C-section. I know there's a question in there about that, and I'll get into that once I reach that question. Another question is, did you get constipated? Yes. During my pregnancy, I've had constipation, but not too much. It hasn't been too bad. But constipation is normal in pregnancy, but for this pregnancy in general, I haven't had a whole lot of constipation. I had constipation in my past, like growing up and stuff, but that was because of my back and my tumor, because that's what causes it in the nervous system. It causes a lot of health issues. So yeah. What was your reaction the first time? I don't know what this question is specifying. My first reaction for the first time, maybe seeing the baby or getting pregnant for the first time, because I do have, if it was getting pregnant, how was my first reaction? I do have a video on that. If you scroll down, there is a pregnancy test reaction on there. But as far as seeing the baby for the first time, I literally melted down and cried. And I was like, oh my goodness, like my heart just melted me. Did you ever have postpartum depression? Yes, I've had postpartum depression. So I've talked about this in one of my videos like a couple of years ago. But I'll talk about it briefly on here in this video. I was diagnosed with postpartum depression after my third pregnancy, which is my son Holden. I didn't realize I had postpartum depression before then, especially with Hayden and Leanna. Hayden, I don't think I did because there was just so much going on since he was born early and he was in the NICU and I was pumping. I mean, there was just so much going on. So I guess I didn't really develop that because there was so much things going on. But for Leanna, I think I actually started postpartum depression with her, but I did not realize it. And I think I was too ashamed to admit it. But that's when it all started, is after Leanna was born. I knew I was very irritable. I was throwing a fit, throwing things. I mean, I couldn't really enjoy her as much. All I wanted to do was sleep. I just didn't really enjoy the newborn stage as much as I wanted to. And then when I got pregnant with Holden, I still didn't realize. I think it really carried on. It kind of gotten worse over time. And then after I had Holden, that's when I finally realized, like, I had thoughts in my head to hurt myself and harm myself. So that's when it really got real to me. So I basically asked for help at my OB office and saying, hey, I really need help. Like, I'm having all these thoughts. Like, I'm constantly yelling and screaming and arguing and just not enjoying, the newborn stage again. And I'm just not enjoying my kids as much as I wanted to. So that's when I actually started having help, and they prescribed me with medication for postpartum depression. And ever since then, I've been really good. I've been back to myself. I'm still on my postpartum depression because I don't plan on getting off of it anytime soon because it's been helping me and I feel like myself. So when I had Weston and Winston and Easton, I was able to enjoy the newborn stage, and I wish I had a girl to have that second chance since I didn't enjoy Leanna's that much. But overall, I'm really glad that I had help. So if anyone is struggling with postpartum depression, I would advise, do not be ashamed at all whatsoever. Please get help. I promise you, you would be 10 times better at the end, because all that matters is you matter, and have the doctors help you and get help. How did this pregnancy differ than the other ones? So this pregnancy was a little bit harder, just because this was technically my 7th pregnancy, because I did have a miscarriage before Weston. But it was a lot different because I had to keep on monitoring my blood pressures. I felt like my stomach was getting bigger and bigger. Like, since I had so many kids, like, I felt like I was carrying so much. Like, people thought I was having twins, but really I wasn't. I was constantly peeing a whole lot more this pregnancy, especially at nights. I was constantly waking up in the middle of the night, had to use the bathroom. What else? It was hard to do certain activities when it got closer to the 3rd trimester. I mean, the 1st trimester, I didn't have a whole lot. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of morning sickness. It was just a little bit of headaches here and there. I only threw up like once or twice, but it wasn't too much. The 2nd trimester was pretty good. I was able to dance and do my normal. But as soon as I kind of hit 3rd trimester, it was starting to become a little bit of a struggle to do more things, like bending over, carrying Hayden into the car, like certain activities. But I had to push myself to do those activities. But I knew that it was just kind of hurting me in general. I was out of breath, but the other pregnancies I was still out of breath. But I think this one was hit it hard. It was just hard to do things, and especially like my dances, like in this pregnancy compared to like my other pregnancies, I was able to dance and do a whole lot even in my 3rd trimester. But this pregnancy, oh my gosh, like I had to take breathers. Like, I had a whole lot more contractions, or not contractions, but like he was stretching more and he was putting a lot of pressure on me. So it was so hard to move and do dances while I had this huge giant belly. So yeah, I would say this pregnancy was very difficult on me. Did you ever want to try for a VBAC, or did you also know you wanted a C-section with all the kids? So I can never have naturals. From the way beginning, as soon as Hayden was born at 23 weeks, they told me that I could never have a natural, due to when they cut my uterus inside, they were unable to give me natural births for all my other pregnancies. So I was forced to have C-sections with all my pregnancies, with all of my kids, after Hayden. So I was very bummed because I just wanted to experience a natural birth only one time, but unfortunately that didn't happen in my case. So, but I am so blessed that I was able to carry kids and get pregnant and experience all the symptoms of it, and actually just having a baby in general. From having so many C-sections, did it affect you physically or mentally? It really didn't affect me at all, physically or mentally, to be honest, because like I said before, I knew that all the pregnancies that I would get in the future, I knew that I would have C-sections. So it didn't affect me at all whatsoever. How does the cut in your belly feel? Right? It doesn't feel anything. It just feels numb, like that area when they cut, it just feels numb, like in all that round area, it just feels numb. When my underwear like rubs against the cut line right now, it kind of irritates it. But overall, it's not a bother. It doesn't feel anything. But like I said, when certain fabrics rub against the cut, it does get uncomfortable, and sometimes it does hurt. What advice would you give an expecting mom? What advice? I would say be patient. Every child is different, especially with sleeping schedules, feedings, milestones. All kids are different. They're all going to hit their milestones differently. Some kids are different. They want to cluster feed at night. Some kids will sleep for you. I mean, everybody's different. So just expect that. Do not compare other kids and other moms. Just go with the flow and just learn from your baby in cues. And if you do have any concerns whatsoever, just contact your doctor and see what you can do, if this is normal or not normal or whatever. But overall, just do not compare to other mamas out there. Like for instance, for Winston, he is 1 year old. He's going to be almost 14 months old, and he's still not walking. So, I mean, it does get a little bit frustrating sometimes because I really want him to start walking so I don't have to carry him. But I think he's just being lazy because he knows that he has a little brother and he's trying to maintain that baby stage as much as possible. And he's still on a bottle, which all of my other kids besides Hayden, they were off the bottle by 1 year old. I cannot get him to get off of this bottle. I don't know why. I think he just uses it for comfort, but I'm just trying so hard. But like I said, you can't compare to other kids. So they will hit a milestone when they're ready. So that's my advice, and just be patient with them, and you got this. Do you feel dizzy or nauseous? No, I do not feel dizzy or nauseous. I don't know what that question was meaning by that question, by that statement or question. But as far as recovering process, I do not feel nauseous or dizzy. The only time I'll feel dizzy is if I haven't eaten all day and my blood sugar is running very low. Did it make you feel depressed that your baby did not want your milk? Actually, it did not make me depressed whatsoever. So when I gave him that milk, he kind of threw it up. I was like, you know what? Hey, if you want formula, you want formula. I'm not going to force it upon you. Even though there's still the formula shortage out there, I'm like, hey, well, if you don't like it, you like it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, you're going to have my breast milk, because I don't want him to lose weight. So that's why he went to formula, so that he can continue growing and gaining weight. So no, I did not feel depressed whatsoever. I'm like, hey, if you don't want my milk, fine. We'll go to formula. That's all right. It doesn't really affect me, and it doesn't really hit me emotionally, because I'm just doing what's best for him, not what's best for me. So if he doesn't want it, hey, that's okay with me. I'm all right. Well, how did the children react after each new addition? Any tips for helping kids transition? That's a good question. A very good question. Leanna, she loved all of her siblings. Hayden, when Leanna was born, Hayden didn't really care. He just didn't really care. But Leanna, when we had Holden, she didn't quite understand, because she was 1 year old, so she didn't really grasp it. But as the time went on and the more we had kids, she became very interested, and she became more of a mommy's helper. I would say their reactions were more helpful. They didn't become stubborn or didn't want the baby or whatsoever. They actually wanted to be involved in the baby. So when Weston was born, Holden was the little baby. He was 1 year old, so he didn't really know. But when Winston was born, Holden was a little bit more interactive. He wanted to help just like Leanna. And Weston was at that stage still. He didn't really quite understand, but he wasn't jealous at all. But of course, when Easton came along, they all wanted to help. They all wanted to touch him. They all wanted to kiss him. They all wanted to participate in that new baby. So they weren't mad. But Winston, he wanted to participate, but he still holds on to that baby thing, saying, hey, like, I'm still a baby. Like, you know, you're not going to take that away from me. Like, you know, he still gets a little bit of jealousy, but I think he's starting to realize that he's a big brother. But certain things, it just doesn't click into his head yet. So, yeah. How was your hospital experience? Did they treat you poorly? My hospital experience was good. The hospital I've always gone to since I gave birth to Hayden, they always treat me really well. I had no issues whatsoever. Like, they have an amazing team, amazing staff that took really good care of me. I had literally no problems with them whatsoever. They always took care of the babies, and, you know, they really have a good NICU team as well. So they didn't treat me poorly at all whatsoever. They are awesome. That's why we always continue to go back to that hospital whenever I had a baby. And so that is all the questions I have from you guys. I appreciate each and one of you giving me questions so I can answer you, and make this video for you guys. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys like this video and what I had to say with all these questions. So I appreciate you guys' support and your love, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.